Hey, what's up? We're back with episode 3 of Humbabe podcast. I'm Alex, and this is Sam. Sam, how are you doing today?
Doing good. I'm doing good. We're ready to go. We got a special guest waiting, and we got the AL East today, right, Alex?
We do. Before we start this, you were telling me a story about one of your friends recently. Can you tell the audience and Justin what you told me?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool story because a former teammate of mine on my baseball team, who I haven't even spoke to in a while, but played with me 3 or 4 years ago, got signed to the Cincinnati Reds, and so it's congratulations, Ariel. I think it's pretty cool, and especially if you knew Ariel, knew where he was before. He was not good. He sucked. He threw like 65 tops, and now he's throwing 95. I know he grew a lot, so it's a lot genetically to help him out. But you gotta understand, this dude was not good at all, and he put in the work, and he got better, and now he's signed by the Reds. So it's a testament to him. So I just thought that was pretty cool. I've been thinking about it all week. So if you want to categorize that as our news of the week, that's what we got for you.
Yeah, there wasn't much going on in the league this week. I mean, only major transaction was maybe Miguel Rojas extended by the Dodgers. 1 year, just got traded from the Marlins. Super Bowl Sunday this weekend. Who do you like, Sam?
I've been going back and forth, still really unsure, but I was thinking Eagles, thinking Chiefs, but I know you're going Chiefs and you persuaded me. I'm gonna go Chiefs because I just don't really trust Jalen Hurts enough. I don't really trust the Eagles enough. I trust Mahomes a lot more. I'm gonna go the Chiefs.
Yep, I'm gonna go Chiefs too. I'm just not gonna bet against Mahomes, even if he's on one ankle still. I don't know, Jalen Hurts, like he hasn't really done much this postseason, to be honest. It's been all Eagles blowout, and they've been really fortunate facing like the Giants, who are
And Brock Purdy without a elbow.
Or his UCL. You know he's getting surgery today?
I know,
not
I know.
today, but in 2 weeks for his UCL. It's so funny.
Yeah, he played the rest of the game because Josh Johnson had to get a concussion. So
Yeah. All right, Sam, we'd like to introduce our special guest.
I will. So today we have the host of the BoomBoomBirdland podcast, Justin Ludenfeld. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you want to tell us anything additional about yourself?
Huge diehard Orioles fan. Literally love everything. Like, if you ask me to name probably the top 30 prospects, I could name most of them. So I would. That's like a flex right there. Honestly, try to go to every Orioles game I can go to. Try to get every insight I can get. Of course, I'm not going to winter meetings or anything. Sadly. Hopefully one day I will. But yeah.
Awesome. So Alex, what do we got next?
All right, so this is the AL East episode, so we're gonna break down every team, pitching staff, roster, farm system, and then we're gonna give our division predictions at the end of the episode. And since we have 2 Orioles fans here, it's fitting that we start with the Baltimore Orioles. Who would like to start, Sam or Justin?
Oh, so why don't you start up?
Okay. I actually have notes here. So, if you're thinking opening day here, you could have Cedric Mullins in the lineup, Adley Rutschman, Anthony Santander, Ryan Mountcastle, Gunnar Henderson, Adam Frazier, who we picked up this offseason, who's a second baseman, Jorge Mateo, who could also be a utility man, Kyle Stowers, I would put 8th. You could always switch it with McKenna, Hayes. People like Hayes better than Stowers. I'm more of a Stowers fan personally. I would put Urias 9th just because. You could also have Taran Vavra on the bench. So I find that pretty cool. And then what I also find it crazy is that our starting rotation, people are like, okay, who's going to be in the top 5? You have Cole Irvin now, who we acquired from the A's. You have Kyle Gibson, who we acquired from the Phillies. Basically a better Jordan Lyles. Kyle Bradish, Dean Kramer, and then the 5th spot is very interesting to me. You've got Grayson Rodriguez, who could take that spot. You have Tyler Wells, DL Hall, Spencer Watkins, Keegan Aiken, and Austin Voth. Oh, and also John Means you have, because he's in Tommy John right now. So maybe he comes halfway through the season.
So
What-
what I was going to ask you is, in the infield, I feel like the Orioles have a lot of depth this year. So you got Mateo. I think what I got is I got Mateo playing short, Henderson playing second, and Arias playing third. You see it differently, or you got? I know you said Frazier at second, but I don't like. I like having both Mateo and Arias in the lineup.
I love that too. I think that was also something with also like me and my dad always go back to this, like when they had whatever Rugnet Odor in there, Mateo, Urias, and then they started bringing people up like Gunner, and just switching the lineups up. I think they lost their click. I don't know the exact word I want to use right now, but they lost that. I don't even know the word. And I think that affected them a little bit because obviously Odor thought like, oh, this is like my team right now. Like, oh, like you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I did not like Odor very much. I just didn't think he contributed in big ways in like clutch moments,
Yeah,
but he wasn't very good. I feel like I feel like they were better off when some of those younger guys got innings.
I think so too. I think Odor was a good presence in the locker room. Which obviously we have Adam Frazier now. Hopefully Kyle Gibson can step up. Cole Irvin seems like a man that could step up to do that. Let's see who else could step up to do that.
Well, I think some of those guys like Mullins and Santander that have been around a while it's kind of on their shoulders now to be that
Mhm.
guy. But then with the rotation, starting rotation, which I think is going to have to play big if they're going to have any chance this year because of the rest of the team. Like I feel like the bullpen's pretty strong. The lineup I think will be good enough, but the starting rotation it really is on them if they're going to have a good season or not. And I know you said you thought the fifth spot Rodriguez was competing for the fifth spot, but I feel like he's got a lock in the rotation. I think it's kind of Kyle Gibson that doesn't, even though they signed him. So yeah, maybe at first he has a lock spot, but I feel like Rodriguez, Kramer, and Bradish have to be locked in there. And what's his name?
Kramer? Or did you say Kramer?
I said Kramer.
Irvin,
Irvin, that's what I meant. Irvin has to be locked in there. So that's four right there. And then yeah, Gibson they signed, so I guess he has to be in there too. So I think they're gonna go six man, especially at first. Maybe DL Hall. But I like you said, I kind of don't know where Tyler Wells and Austin Voth are going because they pitched well at the end of last season, or Tyler Wells at the beginning of last season in the starting rotation. So putting him in the bullpen, I mean Tyler Wells I know used to pitch in the bullpen and pitched well, but I don't really. There's kind of so much depth in the starting rotation, and then when Means comes back, that's even another guy. So there's kind of a lot of too many arms and a lot of too many mid arms. I think they got to trade for an ace, which they haven't done. But that was kind of my disappointment of the offseason for the Orioles.
I think what they did last year a little bit too, and I think the year before, they piggybacked innings. So they had whatever the starters had 2-3 innings.
And then Aiken, yeah.
Yeah, Aiken would come in, so maybe DL Hall could be perfect for that. I actually was listening to Brendan Mortensen and Paul Mancano, and they were at the Baltimore Caravan, and I took this quote that Mike Elias said. And he said he's talking about DL Hall. He said he's coming to spring training as a starter. He's been training. He's been training that way. Now it's time to focus back on his career, which to us at this point is as a starting pitcher, and our hope for him is to be a starter.
Alex, you want?
So,
sorry,
I mean,
All right, so Orioles obviously.
I know you don't like DL Hall as a starter, but
Nah. Well, DL Hall, I think he's a reliever. I think his command is just not good enough to be suited as a starter, but he has the stuff to be like an elite reliever. Orioles obviously overperformed last year, 83 and 79. I think they're gonna regress this year. I look at their pitching staff, like Gibson, Irvin, Bradish, Kramer, Rodriguez, Wells. I don't know. I don't think it's good enough. It's simply not good enough, especially in the AL East. Obviously the infield depth is amazing. I think I would put Henderson as short personally and bench Mateo. He could be like the first man up and put Frazier second. But also I think Santander is gonna get traded this year.
Ooh.
I think you have what's his name? Colin Cowser coming up. He's in AAA already. He's a top prospect. Also Santander is gonna be free agent soon. Um, I think his price is gonna be at his highest value like this year. I think they're gonna offload him, and like Vegas has their over under set at 76 and a half. I mean, I think it goes under. I just don't know if this pitching is good enough to withhold a 162 game season. And a lot of arms that stepped up last year, like Bradish, Kramer, they have to prove to me that they can do it again. I'm not sure if they can.
I mean, it's a fair point, but I got to disagree. I mean, those arms stepped up last season, and the reason they did, for the most part, one, the wall, which is still there. So you're still going to be benefit from the wall. Second, the bullpen was huge last season. So Orioles bullpen's taken up a number of innings. Starters have less of a burden on their shoulders. About Santander, I think he stays on the team for a long time. I think actually that if they're going to trade an outfielder, I think they're going to trade Mullins. I don't think they're going to trade Santander. And I mean, Mullins is fine. He's a good player. But if you notice, at the end of last season, they started benching him against lefties and didn't have him start against left-handed pitching. I think that's kind of a hint. I think Santander is better anyway. But with the starting rotation, I think Irvin's going to play huge. I think Rodriguez is really going to come in and be lights out. Bradish, I think, is the guy that takes the big step. I think Bradish becomes a legitimate 2. Kramer has to prove it to me a little more. I know he was very solid last year, but I have to see it. I know it's tough with Kramer, and then you got the veteran with Gibson, who I don't really trust very much, but so that's a guy that could potentially fall off, and then they'll have to use other pitchers, but they have plenty of arms to use. And then Deal Hall, again, that's a question mark. I think he might end up going back to the bullpen, but we'll have to see there. So yeah, I mean, I know there's question marks, especially with the starting pitching, but I just think they're too good to be under 76 wins. This team is slept on again this season. They're gonna be right in the middle of the AL East.
Oh no, I've been very sorry.
Yeah,
I've been. Oh, Justin, you want to talk?
Yeah.
I was saying like 83 wins, something like that. I don't think they're getting 90 this year. Hopefully they make the wild card, and progress that way.
So like your GM Mike Elias, he was like hyping up how you guys have all this flexibility this offseason, but like you guys didn't really spend enough. And I think that's a sign that he knows that the team will perform. Like he came from the Astros front office. He's very into analytics. He knows that this the 2022 Orioles definitely overperformed their I guess expectations, and I think he's expecting some regression, which is why he didn't sign big arms like Rodon or trade for stars as well. So I think he expects a step back this year, but 2023 is a year where it's gonna like pick up.
Well, on that, I'll say that I think Mike Elias, I don't think that's exactly the thing. I was disappointed that they didn't get a big guy like Rodon, but I think it's less in his control than people think. I think it's a lot on John Angelos, who isn't spending the money. Mike Elias, I think he did almost the best that I think they allowed him to do. So I don't think it's a reflection of his belief in this season. I think they're primed just to be as good. I think they're going to be better this season than last. So last year, 83 wins. I think they get more. I think it's 88 wins this season for the Orioles. So that's my. Actually, I ruined it. We're supposed to hold the predictions to the end, but
yeah,
that's my bad. But yeah, I mean, I get they were 21st in starters ERA last year. But the thing is that you're improving even more each season. They upgraded. They're gonna have Rodriguez coming now. They have Irvin to replace Lyles, even though Lyles I thought did decently last year, but I think they're improving there. I think Bradish will step up. So I mean, I understand the concerns, but I don't love it. I think they'll be just fine.
I think you also have. So you were saying Santander might get traded. I think I agree with Sinder a little bit here. So I think Mullins gets traded with a package with Hayes. That I think is perfect right there. I mean, Hayes is a decent player. At the end of the year, he went in a big slump. Personally, I don't want to see him on the team. he is a good player and he's a good guy. So that's great that he brings that to the clubhouse. But at the end of the day, like as an O's fan, I want to get to the playoffs. The main goal for them is to win the World Series. So whatever they got to do to win a World Series.
I agree. You said it earlier. I like Stowers more than Hayes. I hope he starts on opening day. Hayes had a tremendous first half, but the second half was really hard to watch. And so just one more thing, because we haven't really mentioned how good the bullpen was last year for the Orioles, which is they had the 7th best bullpen expected FIP. It was the best in the AL East, 9th best bullpen ERA, and they were throwing a lot of innings, so it wasn't a small sample size at all. 4th best bullpen rate, barrel rate against, and so they were 9 under 500 in starting pitching wins, but they were 13 over in bullpen pitching wins. So that just shows how important that bullpen was to the team. And the way the Orioles won last year was through the bullpen, which is kind of a concern for me because they have to keep coming back late in games. But I think that's just how the team is built. I think they're built to stay the pitching, starting pitching just keeps it close. Bullpen keeps them in it all the way till the end. And then that's why they were so effective with those late game rallies at the end of the whole season last year. So I don't think that's unsustainable for them. I think that's just how the team is built. And I think we're going to see that trend continue for at least this year and a couple years to come.
I think our bullpen is pretty good right now. The only person in our bullpen that I really don't like is Joey Crable because he can be on some days, off some days, and you can't really tell what days he's going to be on and off. You have Perez in there, and I think he's a great setup for Bautista. Who else do you have in there? You have
Dylan Tate, Ciano Perez, Keegan Aiken, Brian Baker.
I don't know if Gabriel even makes the pen this year. I don't know if he makes the team.
I don't know. I mean, because you have 13 pitchers and 13 position players. So for the 26 men, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I saw something on Twitter trying to write out the bullpen, and I didn't. There was a few guys that didn't even make it. Like Keegan Aiken didn't make it. I saw, and I was like, that just proves to me how solid this Orioles bullpen could be this year. If Keegan Aiken, who pitched tremendously last year, doesn't even make it, I mean, they're set up pretty well, I think.
I totally agree with that.
Okay, should we move on to the next team?
Yeah, let's go.
Justin, so we said originally that you were going to be here for the Orioles. Would you like to stay on for the other teams, or do you have
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds that's good. Sounds good. All right. Next team, let's go with the Boston Red Sox. Who would like to start about the Boston Red Sox?
You want to start, Alex?
Okay. So obviously a hectic offseason in Boston. They lost their star shortstop, arguably best shortstop in their history. If aside him or Nomar. They lost Bogarts to the Padres. They lost their DH for the past 5 years, JD Martinez. They lost Tommy Pham. Michael Walker was really good last year. Rich Hill. But they also added a lot of intriguing pieces. They signed Yoshida from Japan, largest ever Japanese player. No, most expensive Japanese player in MLB history. He'll slot in the left field. They also added Kenley Jansen to be their closer, 2 years, $32 million. Added Chris Martin, 2 years, $17 million. And they added Justin Turner to fulfill their DH role. Obviously, the Red Sox, I mean, I think they're gonna be in a similar situation as they were last year. I mean, I think Justin Turner is a really underrated pickup. He still has something in the tank, and JD was kind of on the downhill slope of his career. Obviously, losing Bogarts is gonna be it's gonna be painful. He's their captain, basically. He's their clubhouse leader. He's their best player. But I don't know. I feel like the Red Sox always find a way to, I don't know, get offense on the board. So I don't think it's gonna be too much of an impact. And so I think they're gonna be slightly worse off this year, but not as much as people predict.
Well, I think they're in for a very similar year to last year, like you said. But these moves, they did a lot of moves to kind of create something. I think they're going to end up with pretty much nothing. And a lot of these guys could be trade deadline pieces that they move, and then they can end up really bad off towards the second half. But I think Evaldi's a huge piece to lose. Waka. I mean, obviously Bogarts, but I don't really love Turner as much as you do. I think he's kind of past his prime. I'd watch out for Duvall, but again, I don't really know about him either. I think James Paxton, I don't really think that's too much. And then Kenley Jansen, he's not been very good lately, last few years. So I mean, none of these moves scare me at all. I mean, last year the offense was fairly decent, 6th best on base, 9th best slug, but I mean they were 20th in homers. And I don't think they're losing Bogarts, losing some of those other guys. I don't think they're making up for it enough. So I expect the offense to go down. And I mean, other than Bello with the pitching, I don't see much in the pitching side. There's some upside with Paxton, but I don't think it'll turn out. So I think the Red Sox are in for a rough season.
I think they're in for a rough season. I think they're gonna come out a little strong. Like, I think we're gonna underestimate them. I think they're gonna come out a little strong. They're gonna go down slowly. But I think they're gonna try to start off good. That's what I think personally. Obviously, losing Uvalde, losing what's his name, Bogart, Waka, those big pieces right there, not good. Of course, every time they play the AL East, it's kind of like the Ravens Steelers here. Like every time the Ravens and Steelers play, it's a close matchup. So every time the O's and Red Sox play, it's usually kind of close. Sometimes the Red Sox blow us out. Sometimes we blow them out. Yankees and Red Sox, a big rivalry right there. Obviously, it's 12 games this season, right?
10.
10?
Right, 10?
I thought it was 12.
Oh,
Is it 12?
I'm not sure. I know it's not 19 anymore for sure.
Yeah, it's not
but-
19.
Is it, it might be. But yeah, where it's at least 7 less than it was last year, which is huge per team. So yeah,
I think that's going to be way more bigger than for the O's and their schedule than the Red Sox. But of course, you have the Yankees they play, the Blue Jays they play, and the O's and the Rays, and obviously they're all AL East rivals. So I think that gives them a little more motivation to win some more games.
well, statistically, every AL East team is going to benefit from the schedule change, like you said, even the Red Sox. But I think the Orioles benefit the most just because of where they are as a team, how they didn't really have I don't think they had a winning record versus an AL East team last year, but they performed so well against other divisions. So in that regard, I think they're going to be set up. But the Red Sox, they were one of the worst defensive teams last year, and pitching 7th worst ERA, and that was with Evaldi. I mean, obviously he was injured for a lot of the season. Last year was not his best year, but they're losing him, and I don't think Paxton makes up for it. So I mean, it'll be a struggle. I don't like it.
I'm looking at their starting pitching, and I think it's like very like intriguing. Like Chris Sale, like he keeps getting hurt on like ridiculous like shit, but like I think he's still a very good pitcher, Chris Sale. Like I still think he can become an ace. Not maybe not like his prime years, but like I think I can envision like a low 3s, like high strikeout rate pitcher that's still there. Garrett Whitlock's gonna be in the rotation for the first time. For a full season, I think he's going to be a really solid starter. He performed really well as a starter last year, so I'm curious to see how he's going to perform like over a full season. Bello, your dark horse, I think he's good too. Paxton, obviously question mark, but when he's healthy, he's a really good pitcher. But he hasn't pitched in a while. But just this starting pitching in particular, I think is very high upside. There's upside to it. But the bullpen, I mean. Bullpen's kind of trash. I don't like any players in this bullpen really. Besides like Tanner Houck, like they're all meh.
I mean, Whitlock interests me too, but Sale, I have no hopes for Sale. When he's come back in the past 2 years or so from injury, he's looked terrible. He doesn't look good at all. And now we're getting even later in his career. Velo's down. Slider isn't going to play as much. I think at best he's just a like morale piece, kind of like Pedroia late in his career. But I mean, I don't see him contributing very much at all, and he'll probably just get injured again. That's my take on Sale.
I think personally they should start rebuilding more. Of course, they are still a little rebuilding. I think they should make some more big moves. Mainly with prospects and that type of stuff. I think every team that is built for a World Series has an amazing minor league team. So, like obviously the Rays, the Yankees, the Phillies kind of did, the Astros, but all those teams and all the contenders, they have a great minor league system.
Well, the Rays, I think, are the master of just like rebuilding on the spot through like trades and trading players at their peak for minor league players. So they kind of do a half rebuild, but they're kind of rare in that ability to be able to do that consistently well. Whereas other teams, I feel like, just struggle to do it. Who's a team? I mean, the Cubs kind of did it this year. I mean, kind of like the Red Sox a little bit, I guess. But for many teams that it doesn't work. Like the Angels try it basically every year. I don't think it's worked. It hasn't worked at all. They just always suck, and they're like mediocre and not good enough to make the playoffs every year because of it. So that strategy to me it's not good for long-term success. And if you don't capitalize on that 1 year that you're trying, you're just setting yourself up for worse and worse years in the future. So I like committing to obviously it's not good for competition necessarily, but then you'll be competitive once you really commit to it and figure it out. Like I feel like the Orioles have done now after the 5 years of misery. But now that they're back, I like it. Just like how the Astros did it, just like how the Cubs did it before their World Series run. So I feel like that's kind of the way to do it now, more so than what the other approach, which is the Rays approach, even though the Rays have done it well.
I'm gonna go off top. Oh, I'm gonna go off topic a little bit here, Cinder. But I'm just curious. So obviously Julio got his contract extension. Adley hasn't yet. What do you think about that?
Well, I think the Orioles should take like a Braves-like approach here, and especially Adley, without question, should get a contract extension, 10-year extension, in my opinion. I think we've already seen enough to decide he's worth it. The leadership stuff, especially catching position, there's not any position more valuable. So I think that's the approach with Adley, and then possibly Gunnar, but I'd like to see one more season from him before they do that. But that should be the Orioles have so many young players, and I think they should take that Braves-like approach so that they get these players at a cheaper deal than they would if they wait until the final year of the contract and then extend.
Yeah, I think Rutschman would be open to that deal too because he's a catcher, and catchers as they get older, it's more wear and tear on the body. So I think taking guaranteed money now would be like very appealing to him. So Orioles should definitely offer him an extension like the Braves do with all their core players. Also, I forgot, Red Sox traded for Mondesi. I think it's very intriguing. He could maybe be their next shortstop. I think Kike is going to start their opening day though. But Mondesi is like one of the fastest players in baseball, and he's actually a really good defender too there. So it's an intriguing piece.
All right, are you ready we're going to the Rays?
We're going to the Yankees.
The
Yankees.
Thank you.
Okay.
I wanted to give you a hot take here. So
you can start.
So personally, this is a hot take, but I don't think Judge is hitting 40 home runs this season. I think he's gonna hit 30 to 38, maybe high 35 to 39. I don't think he's getting to 40 though.
Really hot take.
I was actually close to predicting him at like 38, 39, but I decided his swing and his power is just too much. I predict him to get 40. I said 44, I think, last time. I might have said 43. 43 or 44 is what I predicted for Judge. But I mean, I don't think it's out of the question that I think he's at least going to get high 30s, but I think he's probably going to get low 40s.
I would predict like 45. Obviously, he's not going to get like 62 home runs like he did last year, but I mean, he's still Aaron Judge, and when he's going to play full season, he's going to hit bombs playing Yankee Stadium. He's going to get, the short porch cheapies. What do you guys feel about like the Yankees' moves this offseason?
Well, they extended Rizzo, right?
Well, they re-signed him. He was a free
But
agent.
re-signed him.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. Always having a first baseman is good. Of course, because in the O's, whatever, we have Mountcastle, but we don't really have a backup first baseman. And obviously, people think that's troubling. I don't think it's really troubling because Mountcastle has 6 days off, probably 6 to 11 days off, not playing first base. You also have James McCann. I don't think you move Adley there. Of course, he can play
Really,
first,
not yet. Not yet.
but you don't move him there. Yeah.
I think it might be Terran Vavra, backup first baseman. And then maybe Santander, but I prefer Vavra, backup first base. For the Yankees, if I'm a Yankees fan, I'm very disappointed in the offseason.
Really?
I think re-signing Judge just has to be done. I wouldn't be happy. I think it's just expectation that was done. That's not that doesn't add anything to the team because he was there last year. So it's not like you got better from re-signing Judge. The only thing you got better from was from signing Rodon. But other than that, you didn't really I think I would have been happy if it was Rodon and then you got another bat like Nimmo, for instance, or someone like that. But the fact that Benintendi leaves, so the players that left are Tyone, Chad Green, Benintendi, Carpenter, Miguel Castro, Britton, and Marlon Gonzalez, and Chapman. But for the Yankees, I'm concerned with the offense production outside of Judge. I think it's kind of lackluster, and then I'm concerned with the bullpen and the depth. So I know they added Canely, but I don't feel so strongly about that. I really think the Yankees need another bat. So that's my issue with the Yankees. But Rodon was a big signing, so that's good for them.
To be honest, you go.
You got it.
Okay. To be honest, when you think of the Yankees, first, if you said what player comes to mind when you think of the Yankees, you think of Derek Jeter, you think of Alex Rodriguez. I don't think. Obviously, you have Judge. You don't have a second big star, in my opinion. I mean, you have Rizzo, you have Stanton, but Stanton hasn't really showed me anything to show that he's great since he was on the Marlins.
I would probably say the second star is like Garrett Cole, or maybe it's Rodon after this season.
Yeah.
Or even Nestor, honestly. But I think to your point, they need a second offensive star.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. It's not. I don't think it's Rizzo. I don't think it's Stanton at this point. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with your take on the offense. I feel like they need one more impact bat. I think LeMahieu coming back. Like we all forget about DJ LeMahieu. He's amazing. He's a utility guy, above average offensive bat, like 120 OPS plus. I also think adding Peraza or Volpe over IKF is going to be a big upgrade as well. I'm still not like Glaber had a bounce back season, if you would call it, last year. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Glaber anymore, like I once was. Left field projected to be a black hole with Aaron Hicks there. I would trade for Max Kepler personally to be our next left fielder. I mean Hicks, like, come on now, it's Aaron Hicks. You said the relievers are shaky. I actually really like our bullpen. There's a lot of high upside arms. Holmes, Loizaga, Peralta, Trevino's a good top four. Canely was very good in a small sample size last year. Michael King's coming back too from injury. He was arguably our best reliever before he got hurt. Marnacchio, high upside, amazing changeup. And like Albert Abreu, Greg Weiser, they're all high upside arms. And I'm not concerned about the bullpen. One thing I'm really concerned about, I think like our rotation is the best in baseball, to be honest. But man, they all have injury questions. Rodon before 2022, considered injury prone. Severino, injury prone. Montas, he's gonna miss the first month of the season due to injury. And like Herman's gonna replace him. But like after Herman, we have absolutely nobody in terms of depth. We have Clark Schmidt and Davey Garcia like listed as our next starters in line after Herman. And I'm just really worried that this rotation won't last a full season. And I feel like we need one more starter, just to like an innings eater. Like a Jordan Lyles would be like perfect for the Yankees, but obviously he's signed with the Royals. But someone like him, someone that will be healthy, will be there when injuries like when injuries begin to pile up because it's a long season. So if the Yankees fail this year, I think it's because their rotation falls apart due to injuries and not the relievers or not the bullpen or offense.
Alex,
Well-
as a Yankees fan, what do
Yeah.
you think about IKF, and would you have traded him this offseason?
So IKF, I think it was overhated last year, but he really wasn't that good. He has a new alarm at shortstop. His range is actually solid, but his arm is terrible at short, and he fumbles a lot of routine plays, and like at the shortstop position, there's a lot of like power. There's a lot of good hitters at the shortstop position nowadays, and he's just not a good enough hitter. Like he doesn't walk, he doesn't strike out much, but the only way he gets on base is like a ground ball that just happens to find the hole. He has like no pop, no extra base potential. And if he got traded this offseason, I feel like he would have netted nobody. So I would have kept him personally as like a bench piece, which I'm perfectly fine with him being. But
Yeah.
Sam loves IKF.
IKF is the king of the single. It's the beast. I mean, the Yankees. I think the starting pitching depth is a concern. I think Herman is terrible. So I think if we're getting to the point where Herman is starting every fifth day for the season, and I mean Clark Schmidt's fine, but then Davey Garcia and some of those other guys, I think they're in trouble. And I just want to pose a question. Like legitimately, obviously Judge is terrific, so we're looking beyond Judge. So the Yankees lineup as a whole compared to the Orioles lineup as a whole.
Definitely
I
not.
would take the Orioles lineup.
Definitely not.
Because you look at the numbers.
not.
Look at the numbers. Donaldson.
The Yankees scored like the most runs. The Yankees scored the most runs in baseball last year.
But it's Judge dependent. Judge,
Okay,
I mean, Donaldson 308 on base, Hicks 313 slug, IKF 327 slug, Trevino 283 on base, LeMahieu 377 slug, Bader 356 slug, and then you look at the Orioles players. Where are they? Arias 414 slug, Hayes 413 slug, Santander 455 slug, Adley 445 slug, Mullins 403, and Stowers 418. So,
I wouldn't go that far.
if we're looking at the depth of these lineups, I kind of like the Orioles more.
Nah, definitely not.
I think on paper, the Yankees out of 12 games, I think the Yankees win more games. Maybe 8-6, something like that. That's 14. So like 8. What? 8? Oh, so 12. Okay, it's like 5-7, something like that. But like looking at hitters and people that come up, whatever. I think the O's have the brighter future than the Yankees, but right now I think the Yankees still. Right now I think the Yankees still have something over the O's.
I think they do too as a complete team with pitching, starting pitching. But I would just looking at the lineup as a whole, including the bench, lineup and bench, I would take the Orioles offensively.
That's a hot take. I would definitely disagree with you. No, not definitely. I do disagree with you.
I think the stats would back it up too.
I don't know. There's no way. I'm not even trying to be delusional. I'm just like the Yankees were. I know a lot of it was from Judge, but Rizzo still a very good first baseman. Stanton still a very awesome hitter. Torres, 116 WRC plus last year. LeMahieu's coming back. He's healthy. Like Volpe, Peraza is gonna be so much better than Connor for left. And Bader, if he can be like an above average center fielder, like offensively, it'll be way more than what we had last year. So I'm not too concerned about the offense.
I think also, someone on the Yankees is gonna have a breakout year, and you're gonna be like, how's he gonna have a breakout year after last season? Nestor Cortez, I think he's gonna do even better. Personally,
I can see it.
I'm a Nestor. I like Nestor. I want to see it.
All right.
But also, something else. Wait, before we move on,
Yeah.
the Yankees. Something I noticed just watching the games last year, and it jumped out was they're minus 5.07 in the clutch, which is they're 21st in batting average with runs in scoring position. And I don't know if you noticed that, but I thought it was huge in terms of their game-to-game production and how they played. And I didn't, for me, it would be a concern. I thought it was problematic. Despite their offensive numbers, they're fourth in slugging overall, fourth in WOBA. They had 10% walk rate, which was the MLB leader. But the clutch hitting was, I think, a problem.
Yeah, it was mostly in the second half. The second half was just a horrible watch. But the first half definitely inflated those numbers. But they're the best team in the East, in my opinion. I mean, we'll get into that later. But I'm not too worried about the Yankees. Besides, just the injuries. The injuries are. If we suck this year, it's not gonna be due to performance. It's gonna be due to injuries. So that's my opinion.
One more note. I saw they had a Pythagorean luck score of -7. So they're supposed to have 7 more wins than they had last year, which I thought was interesting. It was the most of anyone.
Yeah, that makes sense. They had a really good run differential last year.
Yeah, they did.
That's why. And also I think that's why I picked the Orioles to regress, because they overperformed their Pythagorean theorem. Not Pythagorean theorem, Pythagorean record.
Mhm.
Alex.
Yeah.
So, do you think if some odd reason they traded Judge, do you think they could have got? What do you think they could have got from that?
With this contract right now,
Yeah.
it depends on the team, because like a team like the Pirates won't trade for him. I think they get. He's top 5 player in baseball. Yeah, I would. That's a good question, honestly, because it's a big contract. I think I'm trying to think of like a comparable like trade in the past. I'll come with an answer later, but let's move on to the next team. So next team, Tampa Bay Rays. Who would like to start?
I would.
Okay.
Oh, personally, I think they have one of the best rotations in the AL East. They've got Rasmussen.
Yeah.
They've got Shane McClanahan. They picked up Zach Eflin this offseason. That's just strong with it. I know Zach Eflin's a closer. Or is he a closer or starter?
Who?
Zach Eflin?
No, he's gonna be the starter.
He's a starter. Okay, I don't know why I said he was a closer.
Yeah, he's their record free agent signing. They the most money they ever given to a player in free agency, $40 million.
Also offensive wise, they have Randy Rosarena, Franco, who was he number? He was number 1 at one point on MLB Pipeline last year.
It was a few years. It was like two, maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah, he was like considered the best prospect like ever. He was like an 80 graded prospect out of 80. Like he was perfect.
I mean, I agree. I mean, you forgot to mention my favorite starter, which is Tyler Glasnow.
Tyler Glasnow.
He's nasty, and he just adds to that rotation with McClanahan, like you said, Rasmussen, but also Boz, I think, is going to take a huge step. Patino, I think, is good. I think he'll start. And then, they have too many starters for the slots. They have Springs, too. Springs is filthy. He got an extension. And then, obviously, they signed Eflin. So I don't even know what they're going to. They got like 7, 8 starting pitchers. They'll probably go with a 6-man, and then 2 of them are going to be bullpen guys. But the Rays pitching is, I think it's. I mean, maybe the Yankees are a little competitive with them for AL East, but overall, Rays Yankees, those 2 might be the 2 best rotations in baseball. The Rays are just. I was looking at some top 5 rotations baseball lists, and no one had the Rays in their top 5, and I was like, this is ridiculous. But
really?
I didn't see any. But I don't like the Rays offense as much as you do. I think the offense is really lacking. I think it's bad. They're missing a lot of people. So obviously they're going to have Wander for the full season, which is going to help them because they missed him for a lot last year. But Randy Rosarena was not very good last season. He led them with 20 home runs, which is the most on their team. They're really lacking in power. But if you look at everyone else, and that was like their best offensive player, other than Yandy Diaz maybe, who was very good, 401 on base. But everyone else, Brandon Lau, even Isaac Paredes, who had 20 home runs, even Margot, all their other players, just terrible stats, terrible slugging. Not terrible, but just below average. Some of them were pretty bad. Taylor Walls, who won't play, was very bad. Who had to play a lot because of injuries and stuff. So I just think they didn't sign anyone to improve the offense. So even though the pitching is really good, I have major concerns for the Rays just because I don't know if they're going to get enough offensively at all.
So the Rays, I mean, on paper, this like it's ass, but like every year they always find a way to come up with like formulate a productive offense. Like they'll platoon guys. Also, Juan DeFranco's back. Like his season got cut short last year. Like he injured his wrist or something. Juan DeFranco is gonna have a breakout year this year. He's gonna remind everyone why he was the number one overall prospect. He's gonna change their offense. Yanni Diaz, one of the most underrated players in baseball. Brandon Lau, I mean, he had 39 home runs in 2021. Also, another player whose season was derailed by injuries. Like Manuel Margot took a leap once he got traded from the Padres. Like Jose Siri, he's gonna be the Kiermaier replacement. He's gonna be just like him too. He won't produce much offensively, but he's an elite, like 90-something percentile outfielder defensively out there. Ozores-Albright is gonna be solid as always. I think this offense is gonna be good, honestly, and mixed with the rotation, a lot of like there's injury concerns there. Glasnow coming off Tommy John. McClanahan got hurt last year as well. But like when healthy, they're definitely top 5 rotation. The bullpen, I mean, there's a lot of they're gonna find people midway through the year, like in their minors, that's gonna come up and be elite relievers. They're gonna fix people. The Rays are gonna be really good this year. And yeah.
You know, I mean, I think the bullpen, I think they'll be just fine, like you said. Jason Adam was tremendous last year, and he came out of nowhere. And they just find ways to do that. They find ways to do that with everyone, like you said. I mean, there's really no guessing as to who is going to be. I mean, you could guess, but there's no one as to who's going to be that next guy out of the Rays bullpen that's just going to become ridiculous. Obviously, you still have Fairbanks, among other people in that bullpen, Fairbanks got extended too.
Yeah.
So they really believe in him, and he's nasty. So I mean, there's no shortage of arms for the Rays. It's not the problem. But I don't like the offense at all. I mean, like I don't like the offense as much as you. I don't really like it at all. I think Ozores-Albright is overrated. I think he's really a terrible base runner. He makes so many outs on the bases. Not a very good defender. Just and offensively, I mean, yeah, he was fine, but just fine. I don't think the Rays can afford to be just fine this season. I think they're going to have to be a little better than that. And if he's their best offensive player, which I don't think he will be, because I think Wander Franco will be back and be very good. But if they have Wander Franco and that's about it, I think they're going to really struggle because the pitching, they're going to be playing in like 2-1 games. The bullpen's going to do their best and they'll lose 3-1, 2-1 all the time. So that's my problem with the Rays. They concern me like that. I still think they're going to be a very good team, but they concern me. I don't know if they have enough.
Curtis Mead might come up. Your boy Curtis Mead.
Well, if he comes up, it's a different story, you know. No,
he will definitely midway through the year. I think Rays. I'm gonna change my prediction actually, but we'll save it for later. I'm looking at this now. I'm like, geez, this is a really good team. This is really like Taj Bradley, top pitching prospect for them. He's gonna come up. Like, there's so many arms. Luis Patino, like, he's going to be in the bullpen probably. I don't know. There's so many. This seems so good. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'm definitely changing my...
Yeah.
Talking about prospects, they have 5 prospects in the top 100. That's a lot of prospects in the top 100.
That is. And they have someone at first base to, like, spell Diaz. Jonathan Aranda. Look at his minor league numbers last year. They were incredible. Like, he's not a good defensively, but he'll make an impact offensively. He's a good bat. He was really good last year too, and it's like whenever he did play. I don't know his numbers for sure, but it was definitely really good. I'll look it up right now.
So Cinder, why did you think Randy Arozarena, why do you think he wasn't the best in offense? I mean, I think he did decent in offense. He could have been better, but I don't think he did as terrible as you said he did.
I don't. My bad. I was. He's not terrible offensively, but I just think he was like okay. I don't think he had 20 home runs. That was their team leader. Yeah, his slugging was fine. His on base was fine. He strikes out a ton, but he's just like I don't think he can be their best player offensively. He's not. I think he's a little overrated. He's not very good. He's not a bad player. He's not terrible at all. But I just think that offensively the Rays are bad if he is their best offensive player.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, so I take back my Aranda. He started off well, but he was actually really bad at the end of the season. But I know for sure his minor league numbers were really good last year. Yeah, my fault. He had a 915 OPS in AAA last year, but 596 OPS in the majors. But I still think he's a good bat. Okay, should we move on to our last team, the Blue Jays?
Sure.
All right. Who would like to start with that?
So I'll
I'll
start.
let you start.
So the Blue Jays added Chris Bassett, Dalton Varsho, Kiermaier, Brandon Belt, Chad Green, Eric Swanson, and you know who else they added? Alex?
Who else did they add?
Paul Fry on a minor league deal.
Paul Fry.
Yeah, but I think the Blue Jays will be a very good team this year. But I think they're missing something big when they made some mistakes when they traded away Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel and Moreno. I think they're missing some huge offensive pieces. The offense will still be very good. They're top 5 in almost every offensive category last season as a team. But they're missing. Teoscar Hernandez was very good. He had a 491 slug that led the team last year, and he was top 2% in hard hit rate. Gurriel is 343 on base, very good. So there's my concern. But other than that, there's not much to be very concerned about, except the pitching, which I think it's not concerning, but it's very middle of the pack. And if you're looking at the Blue Jays and saying you're looking at them to win the division, I'd hesitate a lot because the pitching needs to be better. The Yankees and the Rays, but especially the Yankees for the division lead, really have them covered in that area. If the offense is going to be similar, I think the Blue Jays have them offensively. But then you look at pitching, and I think the Yankees have them by really a significant margin pitching-wise. So the Blue Jays' middle-of-the-pack pitching isn't going to do it. They were 4th worst in barrel rate, 8.3%, 6th worst in exit velo against, 8th worst in hard hit rate. And I don't really like Manoah very much. I think he's going to fall off to being a very, really league average pitcher. He's very fastball heavy, Lance Lynn-like. He doesn't have good movement on his pitches except his slider. Doesn't throw very hard. I like Gosman, but he's a little inconsistent. Stuff-wise, he's one of the best in the league. His splitter's insane. 99th percentile chase rate, which is absurd. 83rd in K rate. He's a command wizard. But he gets hit hard from time to time. It's inconsistent. He goes up and down. And then Bassett is kind of the opposite. Bassett really doesn't have very good stuff. 32nd percentile in fastball spin, low fastball velo, 29th in curveball spin, only 10% in chase rate. But he's 95th percentile in average exit velo against and 87th in hard hit. And so for Bassett, I'm looking, is that sustainable? His stuff just isn't good enough to put up those numbers, which we've seen for a few years. So credit to him. But I just don't think it's sustainable. I think he's going to fall off. And the Blue Jays pitching does concern me. Barrios wasn't very good last year, but I think he'll bounce back a little bit. And then Kikuchi's one of the worst pitchers in baseball. So that does concern me. The offense is good enough, though, so I think they'll hang in there and be just fine.
Someone who you did not mention, who I think is overlooked a lot, is the closer Jordan Romano. I don't know his ERA off the top of my head, but he's a lockdown closer right there. Obviously, there's so many good closers in the league that no one would know he's an amazing closer, but he's someone that people I think should be scared about.
So the Blue Jays, I mean, looking at this now, I'm not as high on them as I once was. Like Varsho, Kiermaier, they're gonna be elite defenders out there, but I don't know if their bats Kiermaier bat is definitely not good anymore. Varsho, he's like a league average bat. I mean, you give up Lourdes Gurriel and your top catching prospect or your top prospect in general, Moreno, for Varsho and like an elite defender and elite average bat. Like questionable decision right there. Also I'm just looking like Santiago Espinal. Like I'm not as high. I mean he had a good year last year, but I wouldn't say he's that good. Chapman, I think you like him a lot, Sam Chapman, but I think he's gonna fall off a little bit this year. Um, and also the starting rotation. I mean, as upside, Barrios he had a horrendous season last year. I think he'll bounce back. Bassett, I still think is very solid, but like I think Manoah is gonna regress, like you said. Gosman, I think he's gonna pitch the same numbers, have the same numbers as he did last year. And Kikuchi, I mean, I would throw Mitch White over Kikuchi in the rotation. Yeah, this team just feels very like mid. It feels very mid. Yeah.
There's also someone you didn't mention, Alejandro Kirk. He had a 285 average last year.
Kirk.
Of course.
How
How I forget about him? Oh my god. Yeah.
he had 14 home runs. I don't really look at that. 63 base on balls, 134 hits. Again, people were saying he was better than Adley last year. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that as an O's fan. I don't think so at all. I think he's a good catcher, and obviously with Adley up, and just everyone else, people don't always see that, but I think he's a very good catcher.
No, Kirk, like obviously people see him. You know, he's short. He's a little wide. But he's such a good catcher. I can't believe the Blue Jays were seriously considering trading him and handing the reins to like Jansen or Moreno. Like Kirk, like he's an elite offensive catcher, and he's also a really good defender. At catcher, like last year, I know he was in the Reds for a lot of defensive metrics. So
he slings it behind the plate.
He's good.
He absolutely slings it.
And also Brandon Bell, underrated acquisition. Like Brandon Bell he had some injuries last year, but if you look at his numbers from 2019 and 2021, they were elite. So if you can get back to that, he obviously won't play every day because Guerrero's at first, and they're gonna have to split Kirk and Jansen at catcher. So he's gonna split DH at bats with Kirk and Bell. With Kirk probably, but that's an underrated acquisition for sure.
To be honest, as an O's fan, him going to Brandon Belt going to Toronto, that hurt. There was two players at the beginning of the offseason that I wanted to see the O's really sign that I think they could have signed, which was Brandon Drury, who went to the Angels, and Brandon Belt, who's a left-handed first baseman, so he would have fit actually well, in my opinion. Again, he wouldn't want to be a backup first baseman, which is the problem. But at the same time, they have Vlad. Toronto has Vlad on the team, so he's going to be a backup first baseman most likely, unless he plays a different position.
All right. Do we have anything else to say about the Blue Jays before we get into predictions?
No, I mean, very good offensively last year, but nothing else just to add. First net average exit velo against, so they hit the ball really hard. And we forgot to mention they moved the wall in, some more home runs.
They did. I did forget about that. But I don't think it'll have that much of an impact compared to like the Camden Yards.
I actually think it's going to hurt them as a team because even though it suits them as a team offensively because that's their strength, I think it's going to hurt them because they need the help pitching wise a little bit. And I think it's gonna hurt their pitching.
So if I'm looking at it right, I think it's the left center they're moving in, and then I think the right they're moving out.
Oh, okay, I see. So it's not just okay. No,
I mean, still though, you're gonna face more righties, probably a little more balls out to left. I don't know how much I don't know. It probably doesn't even make much of a difference, but I think it might hurt them a little bit there.
I don't think it's gonna make that much of a difference. Definitely not compared to Camden Yards. It's ridiculous. That was ridiculous.
I know Detroit did something too, moving the wall back.
Yeah, they did.
They moved They moved the walls back even more in Detroit.
I think Detroit moved it in.
There's no way they moved it back.
They did something with it. I don't know
I think
exactly.
Yeah.
Detroit moved it in, I think.
They probably moved it in because that's a pitcher-friendly park, Detroit. All right, are you ready for our AL East 2023 predictions?
Let's see. I actually made a slight change to mine as we were talking.
Slight change. I made a
But-
slight change. Like I have like the screenshots of on Fangraphs of like the depth chart and all that stuff, and I'm just looking at it. I'm like, need to make a change. I need to.
All right, I want to.
Um,
You want to go first? You want to say yours
Let
first?
Justin go first. Let's.
Oh yeah.
If you don't have any prep in your head, it's fine. Just like spew.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
obviously the Red Sox are gonna finish last. I think the Rays are gonna finish fourth. I know that sounds kind of crazy. I think
Hot take.
the O's finished third, and here's why. I think Toronto kind of owns them. Sadly to say, obviously as you saw them play last year, Toronto kind of owned them mostly at the end of the season, and they had a number. So I think Toronto gets the edge over us. And then the Yankees, number one. I think obviously the Yankees are a decent team, but I don't think they have the most competition that they usually could have. I think the AL East is a little more open than it usually is.
I'll go next, Sam. So finishing last, I have the Orioles. Sadly, 73-89. I mean, it's just the pitching. I can't. Like, I'm looking at the pitching. Irvin, Kramer, Bradish,
It's not as
Gibson.
bad as you think. It's really
No,
not.
it's bad. It's bad. Like
It's really
Grayson
not.
Rodriguez is obviously an ace-like pitcher, ace-like stuff, but he still hasn't even pitched in the majors yet. You can't like pencil him as like an automatic good
Listen to me.
starter.
The starting pitching will not be as bad as you think. It's gonna be.
I think it will. I think it will.
honestly,
I think it's gonna be a downfall.
Could be better than Toronto. Could be better than
Hey,
Toronto
Alex.
starting pitching.
No way.
They also
Yes.
have some good prospects. Noah Denoyer, who's probably going to be in the top 100, probably mid-season, if I would say. Xavier Moore, who's in Aberdeen, so he might not be up till 2025. But their pitching prospects are getting there slowly.
Okay. Finishing fourth, I have the Red Sox, 76-86. I think they're gonna be better than like people expect, but still still not that good. Sorry, just a little distraction. We'll get out. Yeah, so the Red Sox, I think offensively they're gonna be just fine without Bogarts. I'm worried about the pitching. They have a lot of upside, but just too many concerns. Third, it was gonna be the Rays, but now it's the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays on paper, this is a very mid team. The starting rotation, Manoah, Gosman, Bassett's a good 3. Barrios, I'm afraid. I think he's like falling off a little bit. Like I'm not gonna just automatically pencil him as like a bounce back candidate. And Kikuchi, he's projected to be a 5th starter. I mean, what are we doing here? Why is Kikuchi the 5th starter? Finishing second, I have the Rays, 94-68. I think they have a really good offense, but the pitching's gonna take them to like elite. They're gonna be like an elite team again. They're gonna challenge the Yankees for the division crown. I think the pitching, like McClanahan, Glasnow, Rasmussen, Eflin, that's a really good 4. And the bullpen, like they have Fairbanks, Jason Adams, Jalen Beeks, and they'll find more guys that'll step in and post an ERA like 1 or 2s. And I have the Yankees at number 1. I think this is the most complete team in the East, and they also have like the most like stars. They have Cole, Rodon, instantly 2 top 10 pitchers right there. They have Aaron Judge, top 5 player in MLB. I think they'll be just fine. I think they're gonna be inconsistent, and the only thing that's gonna stop them is injuries, in my opinion. And on Cortez, how can I forget about Nestor? That's an insane top 3. Cole, Rodon, Nestor.
So
Just perfect.
before Cinder goes, you said the only thing that's going to stop them is injuries.
The Yankees,
How
yes.
about the Astros sweeping them next year in the playoffs again?
I hope not. I've seen that script. I've seen that script too many times. They gotta change it up.
Before I say my predictions, the Orioles actually played extremely well against the Astros last year.
They did.
Were they like 6-1 against the Astros?
I don't know, but
last year?
I know Framber Valdez has some like insane quality star streak, and they got ended by the Orioles.
And Bradish, both his starts against the Astros were, I think he threw a complete game in both of those starts. Or it was 8 innings. 8 innings.
I think Kramer had an insane start against Astros. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But whatever. We'll get going. So 5th, I got the Red Sox, 77 and 85. By the way, the AL East as a whole had the most wins in the league as a division last year. I think it doesn't change this year. This is the best division in baseball by far. And I think they matched their win total from last year. With the balanced schedule, they won't have to beat up on each other as much. All these teams are good. It can be mixed up. Easily the hardest division to predict. I could see a number of these teams doing better or worse than I think. I could even see the Orioles winning the division, but that's not what I got. 5th is the Red Sox, 77 and 85. Then actually 4th, I'm putting the Blue Jays. 4th is the Blue Jays, 87 and 77.
87, 75.
I'm sorry, yeah, 87 and 75. As we went over them more and more, the pitching is really a concern for me. I think it's just too middle of the pack offensively. I think they're going to not be as good as last year. I think Vlad does have even if he was good last year, but I think he bounces back and does a little better. But overall, offensively, I don't really trust them very much. Even though I trust them to be good, top 10 offense, but I don't trust them to be good enough. I don't trust the bullpen. I really don't trust the starting pitching. 3rd, I have the Orioles, 88 and 74. This is an Orioles team that I think is really, really slept on. They're coming for people. That bullpen is going to be lights out. The starting rotation is going to be good enough to hand it off to the bullpen just like last year, same formula. And these rookies are coming up. Kowser's coming. Gunnar Henderson's going to play the whole year and be dominant. Adley's going to have a sensational year. Santander's season is here. He's going to be even better than last year. Dark horse home run leader. Mountcastle, he's going to struggle with the wall again, but I think he can do even better than last year. He'll adjust a little better. I think this is Mateo's season. Mateo's going to be top 3 in stolen bases with the rule changes. Pitch clock is going to be big for pitchers, so I think base stealer is going to feed off that even more. I got the Rays at 2, 92 and 70. Yes, I'm extremely concerned about the offense. The Rays could easily slip to 4th, maybe even 5th in this division because I am concerned about the offense, but that pitching is just too dominant. Between all those starters, it's insane. They easily just knock off everyone else in terms of head-to-head matchups by the 4th and 5th guy. Their 4th and 5th guys are aces for many teams. And then I have the Yankees at 1, 94 and 68. It's too much starting pitching-wise to bet against them if they all stay healthy. And then, of course, you have Judge, and I'm trusting him enough to win the division, even though I could really see them falling apart. But I trust them enough to be number 1. So that's my top 5. Not top. I mean, there's only 5, but that's my AL East.
Sinder, how do you feel that for Rookie of the Year for the AL East, or for the AL, it could be Gunnar, Colton Cowser, and Grayson Rodriguez?
As 1, 2, 3.
As 1, 2, 3. Or
In
a different order, but
it could definitely happen. I think Gunnar is it's my pick. I think it's almost not a lock, but it's my pick
too. It's really good odds, plus like 300 something.
It's
worth the shot
for Rookie of the Year. I think Grayson's gonna have a tremendous year, but pitchers really kind of struggle to win Rookie of the Year, win awards even other than Cy Young. So I don't know if he'll be 2. And then Cowser, but if he doesn't play the whole season, it'll be tough for him. So yeah,
it's gonna be Gunnar for Rookie of the Year. I'm pretty confident about that.
I'm very confident in that too.
He has the playing time. He has a pedigree, and he did well last year in his cameo. He had 126 WRC plus as a rookie, a 21-year-old rookie. That's amazing. If you can do that if you can have a 126 WRC plus over a full season with average defensive numbers, that's Rookie of the Year with the playing time he's gonna get. He's gonna play every day. So is that it for our predictions?
That is it.
Yeah. You wanna wrap it up now, Sam?
Sure. So next week, are we doing AL Central or are we doing NL East?
Doesn't matter. Let's do NL East.
Let's do NL East. So that's what we got next week. It was great having our guest here with us today.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
So we'll be back next week to go over the NL East.
All right.
Humbabe. Keep humming, baby. Let's go.
Keep humming. Thank you for listening, everyone.